We've talked about coaches having an influence on referees, but certainly how players interact as well.
When you're talking about football, it buries its head slightly in the sand, thinking everything's all right. It's the only sport sometimes that doesn't want to improve itself. Every game that we have has an assessor there. He goes down to the referee at half-time, and they did talk about discussions. On the way down to see the referee, what's wrong with having a small room where the assessor could talk to both managers? I don't think that's right, and that's right. And then he takes that into the referee so that you don't get crosswords and everything else. But if it then makes for a better second half, what's wrong with that?
It is interesting, the differences. I mean, you know, you have three on the court. You know, you feel, Andy, that you guys can always approach the referee. That's quite a cultural shift from a football point of view.
Well, Andy does it for us because he carries a certain weight for a start, and we have different jobs on match day. But we will do a lot of our communication in the build-up to the game. So one of our coaches, whichever one of us, will speak to him early in the week about certain issues. The match day then is generally left to Andy, and then post-match is left to one of the coaches to follow up. So, yeah, we do get a lot of communication. It's maybe not two-way most of the time, and we don't get what we want out of it sometimes, but there is some form of communication.
But the referee decision is territory and possession. You lose, you know, by a decision going against you. So it's vital that the decisions that they're making, they are clear and obvious calls that they make.
But you have that opportunity to discuss with a referee at half-time. I know something, it may or may not be a good thing.
I just heard Andy say clear and obvious there. You know, that raises your hackles, that does, clear and obvious. I mean, you know, you just spoke about speaking to the referee in the build-up to the game. I don't know if we could ever do that. I don't know what rules we would be breaking by speaking to the referee in the build-up to a game. What are you looking for? What are you going to be hot on?
It's about working in partnership. You work in partnership with the referee. You know, you've got two teams that are going head-to-head against each other. You know, because of the passion, because of the emotion that's shown, it will spill over sometimes. You don't want it to.
Thank you.
Or timing of tackles can sometimes are poor, sometimes there's late tackles in rugby, sometimes there's late tackles in football. And unfortunately, you know, that referees have got to make decisions. And what we want them to be is absolutely spot on what they see. And we don't want things to be made up, but we want it to be fair as well. And if it's fair, clear and obvious, then we can work with that referee.
That's the key, though, what they see, not what they think they see.
Yeah, that's right there. And, you know, you made a point earlier, Keith, about you have to get some things 100% right. And it's like cricket, isn't it? Don't give somebody out LBW unless you're 100% sure that he's out. And we get a lot of that ambiguity, which is the most frustrating thing, because as well as possession and territory, they can be game-changing moments. You know, tries allowed or disallowed, a penalty given or not given, a knock-on that has been missed, a foot in touch. These are things that they should be quite clear and obvious to see. They're clear for us on the gantry to see, and when they miss them, it's very frustrating.
How long has it taken us to get goal line technology in? Oh my God.
But
How long has it taken us? And it's the best thing ever. Because all the fourth official does, certainly in football anyway, is he ends up getting an absolute barrage of both technical areas. It's almost like they've put him there so as you argue with him and you don't argue with the referee.
It's just deflecting.
You know, you feel sorry for him. I mean, you know, the amount of times I've said to a fourth official, I feel sorry for you today because you're doing all right, but he's having a nightmare. And that happens. You know, and they call them now assistant referees. Or assistant referees. And they may as well just leave them as linesmen, really.
When you do your substitution cards, you go, can I substitute the referee again?
Oh, God.
What about you, Andreas? I mean, it is different because you've got three referees on the court to deal with.
And they cover different areas. And I mean, the biggest thing for me is consistency and communication. So, and consistency within the game. So the three referees working together and kind of, you know, depending on which areas they are, kind of making sure the calls through the game have some kind of explanation and they're kind of called accordingly, like how all referees see it. The other thing is communication, you know, just I think you get referees sometimes that they just don't want to talk to you, so you ask them a question and you're being polite, you're not kind of being aggressive in any way, and they just not acknowledge you. And I think that kind of really frustrates coaches at any level kind of thing. So, you know, I think if they were to kind of say, you know what, I missed it, then you just shut up and you will not say anything really. You go, okay, well, he said, you know, he did it, I cannot do anything about it. But I think the biggest one is when they kind of, it kind of builds up kind of thing. So suddenly they don't say something about you and you feel something is not right there, and it kind of keeps on building up, and then I think the tension comes.
And you had that in the game the other week where the coach, the refereeing decisions seemed to change from the first half to the second half. There was no consistency. Yeah,
that particular game as well, we were up quite a lot. We were up 17 points and we ended up losing. Obviously, Doug Herring's injury had to do a bit with that, but also the way the referees suddenly changed the way they were calling the game. And they allowed a lot more contact. That favoured the team that was on momentum at the time. But I think the biggest thing for me is just when they don't acknowledge you, or you know, they're just. I think that becomes really frustrating. And sometimes the one thing I would say is in basketball you do have technical fouls, and sometimes you can get technical fouls to try to change the flow of the game. So in that particular game, I actually went after the referee on purpose because I wanted something to give a shock to my team. It didn't work, but that's kind of something that tactical that you can actually use sometimes to kind of give different momentum to your team as well.
But they're coached to be like that, to not have a rapport with the coaches, and I think that's wrong. I think for any referee coming to the game, they say it's about a partnership, it's about managing the whole game and managing people. Absolutely. They should have that ability to talk to the managers, to talk to the coaches and get a rapport, because what we want is a really good game of sport, don't we?
Yeah. And that's ultimately what everyone wants to pay and come and see.
A really good fair game, and there's no issue with that.
They're always mic'd up now. So the fourth official's mic'd up to the referee. The worst part is when you say to the fourth official, what did he give that for? I don't know. Why don't you know? Speak to him then. Speak to him now. Well, I can't. The microphone's broke. Okay, so if I chuck down a barrel load of abuse now to the referee, he can't hear me, no?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I get sent in the stand.
But that is
I'm not saying I was going to do that, but at times you feel like
it is a very different cultural approach, though, isn't it? I mean, with rugby, you know, you're very used to hearing the referee talking. You know, we've all just seen the autumn internationals, and you hear the referee explaining to players what they've, and a player questioning back, and there's no aggression most of the time. There's no real aggression. It's a discussion about how to get the best result for the game for both sides. Obviously, you want to have a tactical impact, and if you can, I guess that's something with rugby, being able to talk to the referee as a player and a coach, that is something that you can have influence over.
Well, we tend to use our senior players to speak to referees because just want to clear it up, and we have that culture, I think, in our sport where you can have that rapport. And it is about building relationships. I tell our coaches to build relationships with the referees because we know by and large we'll get them somewhere else along the line in the season. And in some aspects of our game, it's quite technical and safety conscious. So if you think of scrummage and line-out mauls where these big guys have the propensity to go to ground in twisted situations, and so we can come from a safety point of view as well, which referees are prepared to listen to.
But the safety point of view comes down to football as well.
Of course it does. I'm not saying it, but we at least have the opportunity to do that.
There's a lot more organised contact in rugby. It's a lot more organised, isn't it, the contact, than we don't have a scrum, for instance, so your scrums are important in your game.
Some corners might be like that, mate.
Yeah, some of them might be. Depends who you're playing.
How would you deal with that corner thing? Because straight away, you're not allowed to put your hands on somebody.
It's grabbing them. And
grabbing.
It's grappling. That's been a big thing. When we spoke to our players about that, I mean, the big thing is not to get into a scenario where you've been spun round and you've ended up where there's a bit of daylight and you've got hold of someone's shirt so the referee can see that. Don't put yourself in that situation. Because we mark two areas zonal, I think you can strong arm them, but keep your fists clenched rather than grabbing anyone. So keep strong arms. So you might be able to lock someone off so they don't get a run on your zone to head it out the box. Okay. So probably more like that rather than... The big thing is if there's a lot of movement and you're getting spun round and then someone gets done with looking at the ball and then thinking, oh my God, he spun on me, and then they reach round and grab them. That's what we...
So it's a bit like the tackle. Yeah, the tackle in rugby, there are a number of offences that are occurring within that, and sometimes there's offside, there's entries into that tackle, there's the tackler not rolling away. There's so many things that are occurring, and what I've always wanted is the referees penalise the first offence. They penalise what happens first, what stops.
Wade Elliott said that the other week. And the second offence and the third offence.
But that's exactly where I am.
If he
penalise the first offence, and
the rest doesn't happen. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it stops it spiralling as well.
But I think that's in life as well, that we have that. And my wife constantly talks to me about that, with bringing up children, is that sometimes children will come at you and attack you, but it's not the problem that they're actually attacking. They've forgotten about why they're in trouble in the first place, or what they've done wrong, and that's what they've got to look at first, as opposed to, I think that for referees, and that in the whole game for us, if a player doesn't roll away, and then there's a melee in around it, but that player hasn't rolled away, hasn't made a tackle, it slows the game down. It makes the game a complete mess. It puts the defences in place to come off the line and stop the space for us to be able to play to. Right? And what we always ask the referees just to deal with that first. If you can deal with the tackle rolling away, rugby's a great game to watch. You would even enjoy watching it, Steve.
I'm not against it or anything like that.
It isn't for it.
I am for it. I would watch all the internationals. You know, if I'm be honest, have I come down and watched a game on a Sunday? No, I haven't. Based on where we are and how many games we have, that you actually think I need a down day. And I nearly came the other week, funny enough, when we got beat at home by Preston. The doc had actually texted me, "Do you fancy coming along this afternoon?" And I didn't. I will. I'm not against rugby. I love rugby. I played it at school, so I'm into rugby. There has been no danger. I understand the game. I understand the rules, your tactics and all that. No way you would lose me with all of those things. I'm sure about that. But no, I'm into the rugby. I like the rugby, and I will come.
You all have a very, very packed and convoluted season. You almost need to play, throughout the 12 months, and we could split some of the time so that you could get to watch.
I'd love to come down and have a look at how you're working.
More than welcome.
Yeah, I'd love to.
So you'd have to bring your boots on.
Just be a bit of a centre half, in my time.
I think it's great to see how the three sports work together, really. This is why Bristol Sport is really exciting. I think the whole project is very exciting.
Where those treetops listen and children listen.